What is up, everybody? It is Ryan from the Spit and Seeds podcast, and I have another free Slate video for you guys today. Today being July 4th. It's right around 12:30. I'm getting to you guys late. I apologize for that. Reason being, I really wanted to get this video out last night. However, I didn't really see any lines, and also with the lines that I did see, I saw some really wonky pitching matchups. Including like game one today, Guardians and Tigers, they were going to have Skubal, which isn't the case because he definitely pitched yesterday. Didn't really understand what was going on with that. So I did what any normal person would do, and I went out. July 4th weekend's always a big weekend for Maine. We have a lot of tourists, a lot of money come in for our local economy. And I've been basically keeping our watering holes open for the last 2 years by myself. So any help would definitely be welcomed. You've reached a new status of bar regular when the owner is asking you to break up fights. Of course, it helps when my buddy next to me is 6'3", 260 pounds. So it looked a little bit, he at least looked like he could help out a whole hell of a lot. All I asked was that the owner writes me a check for $1 strictly for framing purposes. Put me on the payroll, give me a W-2. Let's get going, baby. Weird times in baseball. I mean, not necessarily weird, but from the beginning of the year, we saw so many favorites just taking house that, a couple of these lines, it was getting there at some points last month where, the Jays were like -2 favorites on the run line. You were getting just these crazy lines that we don't normally see for MLB baseball. Now we've seen that kind of go the other way where the dogs have been barking a little bit. And that's always a welcome sight because it creates an environment where we can get some value. So kind of looking forward, hopefully that trend continues. Been struggling so far in the last 2 weeks. I think we're right around 50%, which means that we drop units on the VIG, but is what it is. It's a grind, definitely a marathon, not a sprint. So slow and steady wins the race. With that being said, I don't have anything for the early games for you guys, so I will still cap those, but you're probably not going to get the video by the time these games are being played. But like I said, no worries because there was nothing really of value that I saw. I'll blow through them really quick. Texas Rangers and the Baltimore Orioles. This game's pretty much a pick-em with the juice on both sides. Over under set at 8.5. Dane Dunning is the better pitcher of the two. Dean Kremer. Dean Kremer's not bad. Now Dean Kremer I capped earlier this year and was expecting more of the same from him, where his kind of career xERA and his career numbers are, and he's actually shown improvement. I think that they took him to the minors and worked with him a little bit, got some confidence, and now he's come back in the MLB, and it's so far so good. So his advanced numbers might be a little smoke and mirrors. I think he's a better pitcher than what his advanced numbers are. Now, Dane Dunning is the better pitcher advanced numbers wise, so I would call it a wash there, similar to the line. With that being said, as far as hitting goes, Texas Rangers are in a better hitting form. However, they've been on the road for some time now, and yesterday you saw that the lineup struggled. So do you have the team that's over the last couple weeks has been really hitting the ball well, or do you have the team that's, kind of getting to the end of a road trip and, they're scuffling a couple games along the way, which is completely normal for a team that's on the road. Meanwhile, the Orioles, I think they have a sneaky lineup. I've always liked the Orioles. This is a team that I will probably cap for a lot of the rest of the year. I like targeting them in spots. They've got a decent, Ryan Mountcastle, great numbers across the board. Trey Mancini, great numbers across the board. You got guys like Cedric Mullins, who hasn't really showed up as well this year, but you expect him to turn it around, and when he does, it's going to be just as, it's a decent lineup. Homegrown talent that's been, really good. Uh, I would say 1 through 6. You got Mullins, Mancini, Santana, Derek, Mountcastle, Rushman, and then Hayes. That's pretty dang good. At the bottom there, you got Odor, Ariz, and Mateo. Those are pretty much automatic outs, but 1 through 6, definitely formidable. I don't really have a play on this one, like I said earlier, especially on the over-under. With this Orioles, you got to kind of take in account that this is a new ballpark with left field being backed up. A lot of those balls that would have been out last year are getting swallowed up in fly balls. So just overall, stay away spot. It should be an interesting game, though, right down the middle. Moving forward, Cleveland and the Tigers. Like I said on this one earlier, they had some weird, some weird lines with Skubal pitching, and I was like, that's not true. Definitely wasn't the case. Now we have Zach Plesac going against Garrett Hill, who's making a debut. Garrett Hill's got decent numbers, I would say, in the minors. He had 4 ERA, 1.22 WHIP. In Double-A, he had even better numbers. Nothing to write home about, but definitely not bad. His averages over a strikeout an inning, so he has decent stuff there. But he's making a debut at home against the Cleveland Guardians team that is bringing out their full lineup. Of course, they gave Jose Ramirez the day off yesterday. And as we know, Cleveland doesn't really strike out, so they're a tough lineup to face, especially for a debut. You got guys like Jose Ramirez leading the league in RBIs. Franmil Reyes, he hit a bomb yesterday. He's been cold, but you look for him to start heating it up. Andres Jimenez is a guy that I really like. He's been hitting the ball a ton. Just a hard team to strike out. Scrappy little lineup. So tough to back the Tigers here, especially with that. Especially with the lineup that they bring, because they don't really hit the ball at all. And, it was a stay away spot because you're not going to back Garrett Hill in that bad lineup against, the Guardians who hit decently and don't strike out. But then again, you're also not going to almost 2-1 on Zach Plesac because it's just it's not really a spot. Zach Plesac's not good. His advanced numbers are not good. So quite easily stay away spot for me. Moving forward, Tampa Bay and Boston. We've got Beeks going against Austin Davis. Last time I checked, this was a pretty dang close. Yep, we got Tampa Bay at plus 105 as dogs, and then Boston is minus 121 on the money line. Over under set at 10. What can I say? Both these guys are lefties. Red Sox got a dangerous lineup when it comes to facing lefties because, even their lefties smash lefties. It doesn't hurt when your lefties, or Rafael Devers and Verdugo. But with that being said, the Rays have also been hitting lately. That was a team last month that we were targeting to kind of expect to struggle hitting because they had so many guys out of their lineup that they were really trying to piece it together and struggling to find it. Well, Wander Franco's back. Harold Ramirez seems to be fitting nicely into that 3-hole. G-Man Choi and Yandy Diaz have always been at least decent hitters. And then Randy Arozarena, if you can get him to turn it around to where he kind of came into the picture, that's a decent hitting lineup. They seem to be turning it around. Like I said in that video last night, be on the lookout for them because it seems like they're starting to figure it out at the dish. And Tampa Bay, they've always kind of had an MO for pitching. Beeks is better than Davis as far as advanced numbers go. I don't know how deep these guys can necessarily go today. It all depends. Over/under set at 10, so there's a lot of runs being expected here. Now, I can't say that the weather's going to help them. It's 80 degrees and the wind's barely blowing out to right field, so it's going to have to be a well-earned 10 runs. I almost lean under, but it's really hard to back aside here, but I would lean under with 10. Fenway's hard. Fenway can be tough. especially if the wind's not necessarily helping out and it's not that hot. Like I said, it's 80 degrees. Beautiful day for a baseball game, don't get me wrong. But tough for that 10 to cover here. I would lean under, and then I'm going to stay away from the side. Watch Tampa Bay. They seem to be really figuring it out at the dish. Moving forward, Kansas City and Heasley facing the Houston Astros and Jake Odorizzi. So this line is pretty crazy. You've got Heasley plus 200 dog, and then Odorizzi is a minus 247 favorite. Odorizzi hasn't pitched since May, so you don't even know how long he's going to go. But what can you say about the Houston Astros? They've been hitting the ball. They're pretty much the best hitting team in baseball right now. Lineup is very deep. Lineup has a lot of pop. Can't say enough about how well they hit the ball. It's going to be hot in Houston. Now, I assume they're going to close the roof, and that should definitely limit the offensive capabilities of this ballpark. However, how it's set right now, it's just kind of an ultimate stay away spot for me. Over under set at 9, and Heasley definitely is going to get hit. I feel like, but I don't know what I'm going to get from Odorizzi. He hasn't pitched since May, like I said, and not necessarily that the Royals have a very good lineup. They're still throwing random guys in the number 4 hole. Looks like today is Pascal Antino. 545 slugging, expected batting average of 333. So not bad hitter, but not a large sample size either. Really just throwing it out there. I'm just going to stay away from this spot. It's so much easier to do that in this game. Expect runs from the Astros for any of you DFS guys. Moving forward, Chicago at Milwaukee. Steele versus Lauer. Last time I checked, this is also a pretty close. Yeah. Chicago's plus 128 on the money line. Milwaukee minus 151. Over under set at 8.5. I took over 8.5 in this game. Reason being, both these teams are actually very hot lately. They have really good numbers. Last 14 days. Let me just look at that real quick. As far as lefties go, advanced numbers. Milwaukee's bottom 10, Chicago's kind of bottom 15. So not necessarily great against lefties. However, you look at their recent form in the last 14 days. WOBA, Milwaukee's number 1, Chicago's number 3. WRC plus, Milwaukee's number 2, Chicago's number 5. WRC, Milwaukee's number 2, Chicago's number 3. So essentially top 5 across the board and all this. Obviously, Chicago falls off the map in ISO because they don't get a lot of guys that slug the ball very hard. But you look at WOBA, WRC plus, and WRC, they're all top 3, top 5-ish. So it's a decent matchup. Now, Milwaukee, weather-wise, they have a roof, which they will use today because they're showing rain later. Tough ballpark, I think, to get all kinds of runs, but I really think these offenses are so hot, and Justin Steele's the better pitcher of the two. But I really can't trust Chicago's bullpen. I can trust Milwaukee's bullpen. But I really think that 8.5 is a good value spot for these two guys to face these hot offenses. These offenses have been really cruising the last couple weeks. Moving forward, San Fran and Carlos Rondon going against the Arizona D-backs. This is another game where it's going to be really hot. Expect the roof to be closed, however. And when the roof gets closed, this field gets really tough. And I think it looks like, according to the line, that they've already baked in that this roof will be closed. San Fran minus 187 as the favorite. Bumgarner getting a plus 155. Dog money. Over under set at 8. And the over 8 right now is plus money. So looking like that will go to 7.5. It's a tough ask. You got to think that Rodon's going to be able to shut down the D-backs pretty well and pretty effectively. And then Bumgarner on the other side, he's scrappy. and he's facing the Giants, so put whatever you want in there. The Giants don't have an amazing lineup. Um, you got to think Jock Peterson's a lefty, so facing a lefty and Bumgarner is going to kind of put him down a little bit. They got good righties like Longoria, Darren Ruff, Wilmer Flores. Those are good righties, but I really can't see a lot of runs being scored here. And I don't want to lay that much money on the favorite. I could see a run line, especially on the away team, because you're going to get all 9 bats. But you're going to expect Arizona's bullpen to essentially help you out. And as long as the Giants can go deep with Rodon, that's live. I'd say that's the value, and that's, if it's not that, it's a stay away. Moving forward, we've got Taijuan Walker and the New York Mets. Taijuan Walker is a -173 favorite. Hunter Green going for the Reds, +145. Let me look at the lineup. So these gotten confirmed yet? No, but it looks like a very strong starting lineup for the Mets. Looks like they're not, punting at all. But to get into it, Taijuan Walker's got worse numbers than Hunter Green. Hunter Green's one of the harder guys to cap so far this year because he's been either really good or really bad. I think that the Reds could be live as a dog here as long as you got Hunter Green in good form. Reason being is the Mets have actually come down to earth. They started the year really hot at the plate, but now as you look at them, they are not hitting as well. They're in the bottom of the league in pretty much every offensive category. And yesterday when we targeted them, their only runs came off mistakes, and they were home runs. So, I mean, those stay in the ballpark, and it's a much different ball game. There was also a 3-run home run that ended up being the difference. So 2 bombs, one of them being a 3-run home run, that you lose the game. That's tough. But the Mets haven't really hit well. So if Hunter Green can show up all of a sudden and pitch decently, they're definitely live as far as a dog. Great American Small Park. I didn't really check out the over-under. Let me get that for you guys. Over-under set at 9.5. Almost too much, because I do think that we get a better start from Hunter Green. But that's a tough ask, 9.5. I think the wind's blowing in as well. It is partly cloudy at 90 degrees, though, so ball should be able to carry decently. Overall, stay away from me. If anything, value on Cincinnati Reds. And I would also say value on Cincinnati Reds. Do the first 5. Get out. Don't even bother with the bullpen. Cincinnati's got a very bad bullpen. Seattle Mariners and San Diego Padres. This I would see as an under game. Reason being, you got Chris Flexen and Sean Manaea going against each other. Sean Manaea, obviously one of the better pitchers in the San Diego, organization. And then Chris Flexen, since he's come over from Korea, he hasn't had very good numbers, but I don't really see much of a threat right now with San Diego. San Diego, after a couple weeks ago playing in Colorado, they've come back down to earth, and they're really struggling. They definitely miss Tatis, but they also at the same time have had guys really struggling, like Trent Grisham, bad year. Jake Cronenworth, not looking as promising. Eric Hosmer, you want more there. Luke Voigt, I don't think he's really showed to be what they thought he was. But essentially, they're really getting their bulk of their offense from a guy like Jorge Alfaro and Manny Machado. Manny Machado's having a bad year for Manny Machado's terms, but I just see it as an under. San Diego is also a hard ballpark to score runs in, especially if the weather's not going to cooperate. Which last time I checked, 70 degrees. Winds blowing from left to right, basically across the diamond. So, maybe you get a little help from the wind, but 70 degrees in San Diego, that's a hard ballpark to play in and score runs. So I see this as an under. And as far as the side, I'm going to stay away. You're going to lay too much money for San Diego, and they've been hitting like shit. So, just overall, under a bust for me. Moving forward, St. Louis and Atlanta, cruising through this. We're at 20 minutes in the video. Dakota Hudson pitching against Kyle Wright. Dakota Hudson's the worst pitcher of the two. Got worse advanced numbers. Kyle Wright's decently. And then when you think about these two teams hitting-wise lately, when you look at the WRC plus, Atlanta's middle of the pack. So is St. Louis. They're 12 and 13. Makes it easy. This team's essentially the same team hitting-wise. You could put a mirror in front of these two offenses, and they pretty much produced the same numbers over the last 2 weeks. So with that being said, obviously the better pitching matchup would say that the Braves are the side to take here. However, you're going to be having to lay minus 181, and that's a lot. So, I think I wouldn't do that necessarily. I wouldn't do minus 181. Wouldn't do first five at minus 132 on the half run. Just overall stay away spot for me. Over under set at 9.5. I think it's supposed to be hot in Atlanta. I do think so. Yeah, hot and humid. No wind whatsoever. 92 degrees, so ball could definitely travel. But 9.5, I think that's a high number, especially for, yes, these two teams can hit, but at the same time, I think both these pitchers, they're not necessarily jerk offs in there. They're decent guys. They're pros. So easy stay away spot for me. Maybe like it live, especially if St. Louis snags a little lead. Atlanta at home, they like to come back. Other than that, stay away. Next, we have the Twins and the White Sox. Dylan Bundy going against Johnny Kaito. What can you say about the White Sox? They've been a disappointment. I think their team's way better than what they've shown. They're healthy, relatively. I get you don't have Jimenez, but Juan Moncada needs to hit. He needs to show up. He's definitely not the guy that they traded the Red Sox all that money for. And all basically, I think that was the Chris Sale deal, wasn't it? Gavin Sheets, not good numbers. I think the White Sox definitely have room for improvement. Their WRC plus is like tops of the league. They're clearly like the most underperforming team. And then on the other side, you get the Twins, who they just slug the shit out of the ball. Up and down the lineup, they got guys that are hitting the ball, slugging over 500. I think it's 1, 2, 3, 4. It's 8 guys. So, hell of a hitting team. Bundy's a bad pitcher. Kaito's a bad pitcher. Let me see what the weather is. Yeah. It's saying that it's humid. 90 degrees in Chicago, but wind blowing in hard. So take that for what it's worth. I think that the over-under for this game, let's see here. Over-under set at 9. That's decent. I don't know. I'm going to sit on that one. I'll probably stay away from it. I think 9's just a little bit too much. 8.5 is what I want. But slight value on Chicago, I think, because Chicago just needs to start overperforming. Now, you could also see at the same time, you could say, well, I think there's value on the Twins at plus 110. So they're the better hitting team of the. On paper, Chicago should be hitting way better. But for what it is, the Twins have great slugging numbers up and down the lineup. So hard to fade there. I'm just going to stay away because I just made a case for both teams. So I'm just going to stay away from it. That's probably the best case there. Moving onward. Let's talk Toronto and Oakland. Alek Manoah, I'm showing his a minus 250 favorite, which means I think that's Cole Urban, plus 207 at home. It's a home dog. Over under set at 7.5. What can I say? Blue Jays hit the ball. and Manoah's their ace against Cole Irvin, who's a lefty, and he doesn't throw. He has bad numbers, and I want to say when it comes to lefties versus lefties, Toronto 121 WRC plus 178 ISO, which is I think one of the top 3. Yeah, top 3. And then Woba. I mean, Toronto's a top 5 offense against lefties. So the number, I get it. It makes sense. I'm not going to lay minus 145 on a minus 1.5 run line. It's just too much now. You know, Toronto, it's just too much to lay on Toronto now, so just stay away. Is what it is. Moving to the last game, under 30 minutes for this video. Let's see if we can bring it on home. We have Colorado and the Dodgers. Kyle Freeland going against Julio Urias. Minus 300 favorite on Urias and the Dodgers. Plus 247 on Colorado. I cannot come up with one good reason to back the Dodgers here. You know you're always going to pay an extra tax on the Dodgers, especially at home. This is against a team, I think Colorado beat them twice last week, didn't they? So you can't be feeling too great about laying 300 on the Dodgers and then, you know, minus. So see, this is what doesn't make sense to me. You have a money line of minus 250, but the minus 1.5, so minus 141. Meanwhile, on the Dodgers, it's minus 134, but a minus 300 money line. That just shows how much the Dodgers are getting on the money line with parlays and shit like that. It's ridiculous. I can't come up with one good reason to back the Dodgers on this one. I would say the value lies on your Rockies, especially with a lefty showing. Colorado against lefties. Number 1 WOBA. Number 8 in WRC plus, and I think this is number 1 or 2 in WRC, number 1. So a hot hitting team. I mean, plus 1.5 Colorado on the run line is plus money. So I will lock that in just on a pure, I guess, principles point because they hit lefties so well, and I just don't think Urias should be a minus 300 favorite. I don't see a good spot here. Dodgers probably win, but I would say plus 1.5 at plus 114. That's almost, it's just out of pure principle. I'm going to bet that. That pretty much wraps it up right at about 30 minutes. So it's what I try to keep the videos at. I hope everybody has a good July 4th. I hope you all do it responsibly and have a good time today. I hope we have a lot of baseball winners. I didn't really bet too much today. Like I said, I didn't like a lot. My leans, I would lean over 8.5 for Chicago and Milwaukee because those teams hit so well. I would lean under 8 in Seattle and San Diego because those teams hit so poorly. And then I would also say lean on Colorado plus 1.5. I mean, the way it's looking, it might get up to plus 2. If it's plus 2, I'm hitting it all day again because I'm taking plus 1.5 at plus money. I can't come up with a reason to back the Dodgers, and I think, you know, the Rockies, they beat them twice last week, and they hit really good against lefties, so I can't really come up with a reason on why not to back up the Rockies with all this money flowing on them. That will be it. I think that covers it. So good luck, everybody. I hope everybody has a solid July 4th once again. Subscribe to the channel. Make sure that you hit that notification bell as well. Be alerted every single time we post a new video. We're going to try to keep these Slate videos rolling and try my best to get them out there early so you guys can get some decent lines. With that being said, hope everybody has a good July 4th once again. Finally, be safe. Have a good old time. See you guys later.